What's going on, guys? It's Ryan from RK Outpost, and today I am super honored and humbled to have with me the great Matt Wilkins. Matt, how are you doing today?
Fine, not so great.
Maybe not a legend in his mind, but if you've been following Star Wars Expanded Universe stuff at all for the past 5 years, Matt Wilkins is a name that you've probably most likely heard of. So I was really humbled when I reached out to him and said, hey, man, I'd really like to talk to you about the Expanded Universe. And he immediately popped right back. Sure, man, let's do this thing. So yeah. For those of you who aren't familiar with him, Matt, why don't you give yourself a little introduction?
I'm a big Expanded Universe fan. This is part of my collection here. I have more spread elsewhere. I have a big RPG collection from all the West End game stuff. The Wizards of the Coast, all the comic books, the single issues when they came out, most of them. Do a few trade paperbacks. I've always loved Expanded Universe. Even when I was a kid, you shared your story on your channel about how you became a fan of the Expanded Universe. Mine was reading Timothy Zahn's, of course, Thrawn trilogy. The very first one, Heir to the Empire, which I didn't want to read as a kid because I thought, oh, that's going to ruin Star Wars. And then read it, absolutely loved it, became an avid collector. And once the purchase of Lucasfilm happened, and I heard all this misinformation being spoken about the Expanded Universe, I felt like I had to speak up, meet to all my 40 subscribers back in the day. And I remember when it first caught on, my videos started getting caught on because I was trying to watch other videos of people saying the same, agreeing with me. And I remember there was this one kid, he lived in El Paso, Texas. I actually became friends with him. And he was, in so many words, kind of saying the same things I was saying on my videos, and but not as eloquently. And then he said, oh, and Matt Wilkins, you need to check him out on YouTube. And I remember I'd put down my laptop. I told my wife, I said, get in here for a minute. I said, this dude just called me out on YouTube. I said, how's he know about you? I was like, I don't know. And then it just kind of blew up from there. And I used to do a lot of defending the Expanded Universe videos. And when I was done saying what I had to say, I'm not much for repeating myself. I decided to go ahead and say, hey, you know what? Let's turn this into a channel about celebrating the Expanded Universe. So on my channel, I go through the entire Expanded Universe in chronological order as best I know how.
That is a tall task for anyone, I'm sure.
It is a tall task, and I've had a few authors who have who watched the channel, and one of them commented, he goes, I have no idea why you would torture yourself this way. But it's something fun. You love it or hate it. The stories in there, the Expanded Universe is just a treasure trove of great stories. Prior to our interview here, we talked a little bit, and I was geeking out about little insignificant little stories about the Expanded Universe that Ryan was thinking, I may have made a mistake bringing this guy on.
Oh, no, never. Yeah, that is one of the things. And, obviously I did explain, how I got in the Expanded Universe originally. And to me, it's so massive. There's so many stories that they've told and that are still left to tell, in my opinion, in the Star Wars Expanded Universe. You've got stories ranging from 25,000 years before the Battle of Yavin to this disconnected story that we have about 140 years after it, where we know how we get there, but God, we really want to know how. It was kind of left blank for us when, Disney took over.
It was massive, and it was creative. It was very creative, very imaginative. The stories, the ideas they came with, love them or hate them, because I didn't like it all, but I still accepted it and read it all. And I just thought this world that, was created first by George Lucas literally did get expanded and just brought up to just another level, in my opinion. It got to be where when Disney bought the franchise, I remember turning to my friend and said, well, if they get rid of the Expanded Universe, I think I'm done. I mean, it wasn't a vindictive statement I made. I just thought, holy cow, I don't even care about the movies as much as I care about these books. And it's the truth.
It has a lot to do with the time and, kind of how connected you get to something when it's taking you hours and hours and hours to get through a novel, as opposed to the 2 hours you spend in the movie theater. I think, and in your brain, you know, you don't just see what you're getting on the screen, or you're able to kind of transpose what you read on the pages to what your image of it is. It's very easy to get really invested in it.
Anyone who reads a book, regardless whether it's Star Wars, you know what Ryan's talking about there, because when you read, your imagination takes over and you're seeing the situations as it unfolds. You're mispronouncing these characters' names for the longest. For the longest, I called him Talon Karad.
Talon Card. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
Talon Card. I called him Talon Karad. And someone said, where are you getting? And back then, the internet wasn't a big deal. But I remember I said, oh, do you like Talon Karad? And he's like, you mean card? And I went, no, it's Karad. He went, where are you getting that A? And I went, what do you mean? I'd been looking at it wrong the entire time. And I still get picked on Truce of Bakura. I used to call it Baruka for the longest because I'm a friggin' moron and didn't read it right. And I think I did that in one of my videos. I said, Baruka. I went, oh, Bakura.
Oh, this guy's a poser.
Yeah. Look at this Disney shield.
Yes. Oh, man. That's funny. I was the same way. Taiko Selchu, I pronounced wrong for the longest time in my head.
Bravo that you got that name right, because if you told me right now what was Taiko's last name, I do not pronounce it on purpose.
Yeah, there's a whole list somewhere you can find on Wikipedia or something where it has like these pronunciations.
And if you ever got the audiobook, I remember very few audiobooks I listened to when it came to the expanded universe, but the ones I did taught me how to pronounce some of those names. It's like, who is this person? Oh, they're talking about blah, blah, blah. That's how you pronounce his name.
And the audiobooks are great. I'll tell you, I read them all initially. Well, not all of them, but virtually all of the novels at least. And a good portion of some of the, Knights of the Old Republic comics and obviously the Legacy comics.
Right.
But the audiobooks I picked up on, probably in the last couple of years, just like driving to work or whatever, even stuff that I've read before, it's what I want to listen to, The
reason I didn't do it at the beginning is they used to be abridged.
I hate those ones.
A lot of audios. Now nothing is abridged, I don't think, because actually unabridged on almost everything. But back in the day, they thought, well, people won't listen to an audiobook if it lasts,
16 hours.
Yeah, whatever. So we'll just abridge it. And I hated that because you were skipping over good parts. But you're exactly right, because a buddy of mine a long time ago let me listen to his books on tape, the X-Wing Rogue Squadron. And I thought it was so fantastic because they use the sound effects, the drama, the music is being used in the background. And it is really exciting to listen to some of these audiobooks. And
it's an audio drama.
It is. That is the perfect definition of it. It's more of an audio drama. And it is so unique to every other. I don't listen to many audiobooks. I listen to very few. But it is so different from what I've heard of other audiobooks.
Yeah, absolutely. And the ones I do know are abridged are the Legacy of the Force, unfortunately. It's one of my favorite series. And you just can't, I haven't bought any of them because I'm not going to want to listen to 3-hour audiobooks of that series specifically.
That skip over your favorite parts.
Yeah, exactly. So
it's like watching the movie version of Harry Potter and getting pissed off whenever they skip one of your favorite scenes.
Yeah. I was, that the Harry Potter, series in general, I thought did one of the best jobs you could have imagined, taking that much material, that much source material and kind of compressing it. And they changed some things. And I was a big Harry Potter person growing up.
They did. Some changes were questionable in my opinion. Like, why did they do that? But overall, yes, I believe those movies did a decent job. I think Harry Potter, I think everything like this should be a TV series. That way you can have unlimited hours to go through every nook and cranny of the book. And by the way, I hate when movies think they're smarter than the book and they change things up. I don't like that. I want it to happen. I Am Legend is a fantastic short story. That movie is garbage compared to that short story. I mean, Matheson should slap someone.
I've never read that short story.
The short story is, I say short story about 174 pages, maybe 200. It's that to me, that's a short story. Yeah. But it's a fantastic short story with an amazing ending. And the movie just said, I think we're better. No, you're not. You did awful. Lord of the Rings. I'm actually rereading it right now. I despise those movies. I despise those movies. Visually, they look amazing, but true to the content, they are not. And it just ticks me off. And I am a perfectionist, I guess I should say. But Harry Potter just skips over or fast forwards through some scenes, and they have to because it's a movie. And I agree with you. It wasn't so bad. It felt really bad on the last two movies.
Yeah, they felt a little different.
Felt a little choppy, but that's, if you never read the books, you'll love those movies.
Oh yeah, for sure.
If you and the thing is, I understand, but if they do a TV show about Harry Potter and they bring all that in, it'd be amazing. Same thing with Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, well, we got that Lord of the Rings one coming out, so
oh yeah, that's right, we do. I'm excited to look into it.
Yes, I am hesitantly excited, if that makes any sense.
That is exactly my opinion too. I'm hesitantly excited
with what we saw with Game of Thrones. The kind of the first half of that series versus the last half started off so great, and then for me at least, and I know a lot of other people that were pretty vocal about it, regardless of like the internet reaction, people I know, it left a sour taste in their mouth those last couple seasons. So
and
hopefully we don't get something like that.
Something about me is I've never seen Game of Thrones. I like a TV show to finish, and I like to binge watch. And because I've heard so many complaints about the ending, it has forestayed my curiosity of watching the entire season, because I know what it's like to love a series that ends really badly. Battlestar Galactica. Anyway, those type of stories, that you're like, oh, so good, but it ended poorly. It almost makes it not worth it. So I'm weighing the options of whether, is it worth it? Is it worth to watch Game of Thrones? Would you recommend, knowing what you know now, right? Would you recommend it?
No, I wouldn't recommend watching the whole thing.
There you
go. The last really 2 or 3 seasons just seem so disfamiliar from what we got in the first 4 or so.
And by the way, I haven't seen it, but is this because did they go past the books and that's where they lost their way without a guide?
That's literally exactly what happened. Is they ran out of the source material from George R.R. Martin. When you go back and listen to so many of the lines and scenes from the first couple seasons, they're almost word for word directly from the books. The way people talk and interact with each other is just different in season 6, 7, and 8. So, and the same thing can be said, in my opinion, for Fantastic Beasts series. That Fantastic Beasts series is no good for me. I have no interest in watching those. I watched the first one and it just didn't feel.
I fell asleep during and I rarely fall asleep watching a movie, but I was so bored. I was bored during the second one too. And I was like, and we rewatched the Harry Potter series right before the second Fantastic Beasts movie came out. And I was like, well, Harry Potter is fun. This is a chore to watch. It's horrible. And that's because there's no source material. They're just making it up as they go. Sure, J.K. Rowling's throwing out whatever garbage from her mouth about what she thinks about this and that. But
unfortunately, that's the source material.
Unfortunately, that is the source material, because the person who originally wrote Harry Potter must have died. Why wouldn't J.K. Rowling write more books? Because I'm almost positive she didn't. Now that is unfounded accusations. I should add allegedly.
That sounds like a YouTube conspiracy theory. Could get us deplatformed.
That's exactly right.
but speaking of things that kind of came to disappointing endings, you talked a little bit about your feelings when it came out that Disney initially bought Star Wars in 2012.
I was shocked. I never thought George would sell it. In my opinion, if someone asked me why he sold it, he let the internet. He was shrouded by. He was playing the role of the emperor's new clothes. The emperor walks around stark naked, and all of his underlings say, "You look wonderful in these clothes." And that's what George Lucas surrounded himself with for years, for decades. Well, you can't hide yourself from the internet. They can't hide they can hide the morning newspaper from George or rip out certain sections, but they can't hide the internet. I think he got a taste of how ugly the internet was and how people did not like his creations. And he didn't like that. And I think he felt a little spoiled. I think he regrets selling it too. But I think
some of his comments would indicate that.
Someone in the comments is definitely going to say that. But I think he just threw a little hissy fit and said, "Here, you can take it. I don't want it. It's not worthy of the fans." and I mean, I could be totally wrong on that, but that's how it felt to me. But at the same time, I felt betrayed. I was like, oh no, because as much as you hear on the internet that George Lucas hated the expanded universe, that is not the case. I argue that these people have not, I hate when people make accusations or make statements without backing it up.
Right.
That's
right.
how I got popular on YouTube, was throwing out quotes and setting the record straight. There's the almighty Dave Filoni, who a lot of people love. He even admitted that George Lucas gets a lot of his ideas and inspiration from the expanded universe. In fact, if you watch the behind the scenes DVDs of the Clone Wars, this happens multiple times where he said, yeah,
Yes.
George got this idea from the West End Game source material or from the comic book. There's one comic book that came out that George loved so much, he made Dave Filoni do an episode about it.
Yeah.
But they had to change the planet and the situation. It's the same adventure that happens to Anakin in the comic book, and then later on TV, and you're so confused, like, wait, this happened twice to Anakin, just on different planets and different people? Yeah, that's because George read the comic book, and this is what he says in the behind-the-scenes DVD, and he said, let's make this episode.
Yeah, and it makes sense for him to do that, because when he came out with Star Wars and all of a sudden it blew way out of, what his mind he thought it was going to be, all of a sudden people started making these role-playing games, these books, these comics, and everything like that, and helped to develop this enormous universe.
Yes.
Whether it was ships, different types of aliens, characters, even just like, what they call a bathroom, whatever it was that was developed. And so they utilized that and, carried on that continuity. You talk to anyone who worked at West End Games back in the day, George Lucas was constantly contacting them and saying how much he enjoyed their source material they were bringing out, how they were fleshing out his universe. You talk to Timothy Zahn, and he'll tell you he got a letter from George Lucas saying he loved that Thrawn trilogy. It was great. Dave Wolferton, Courtship of Princess Leia, had the actual letter stolen from him. Someone broke into his house years ago and stole it from him. But he got a letter. Kevin J. Anderson got a lot of the early authors, when George wasn't doing the prequel stuff or wasn't doing the re-released movies back in the late 90s, he was reading the books. Now, eventually he stopped reading the books because he didn't have that much time. Not many people do.
Yeah, and not many people do, especially when you're trying to get movies done. But he was still reading the comic books, according to a ton of people. There are reports of him going into comic book stores and buying Expanded Universe. So the thing is, he was and you look at, there's an old New York, what's it called? The New Yorker magazine came out with an article back in 1994 or 96. I did a video on it, but anyway, a guy followed him around at Skywalker Ranch. George had a list of Expanded Universe stories, and he was checking off, yes, no, yes, yes, but they have to do this. No, I don't want anything about Yoda. You can do a story about Yoda, but nothing about his background.
Yes.
And he went down, and that was something he daily did. He would Lucasfilm would give them the notes from Del Rey, Bantam, Dark Horse. He would check yes or no. There's a billion people out there who are still alive and breathing who will back this up. Talk to the authors.
There's people that still work at Lucasfilm.
They still work at Lucasfilm. Now, sometimes they didn't talk directly to George, but they submitted the idea. That idea went through Bantam, through Del Rey, through Dark Horse, to Lucasfilm, who brought it to George. Yeah, and George, according to the New Yorker, signed off on what he could do.
A really good example of that specifically is the New Jedi Order series. When they first came out with the timeline for that and said, this is kind of what we want to do. And, they wanted Jason to be the one that was, killed going after the Voxen. And, Anakin, the one to kind of be the hero of that series. And George said, no, I don't want that to happen. Yeah. Anakin's going to be the one that dies. Jason, we have kind of other plans and what we see for him going forward. That's a very clear example.
And on top of that, he wanted Anakin because he didn't want there to be confusion between Anakin Skywalker in the prequels right now and Anakin Solo in the books. Well, wait a minute. If so many people told us it wasn't canon, why was George concerned about that? Now, George also was the one that okayed the death of Chewbacca.
Yep.
Which not a lot of people know.
Not a popular thing in the community.
Wasn't the original choice either.
I didn't know
Luke
that.
was mentioned. Han was mentioned. Both got shot down. I got to talk to someone very close to the situation who was going to, and if they would have done it, it would have been a fantastic, they were going to write the story of the death of Chewbacca, about what went into the thought process. And they backed out last minute because of time. But I begged that person to say, if you do it, the title must be Killing Chewbacca, and then no regrets. Because that got a lot of fan backlash.
But, R.A. Salvatore in Vector Prime, that's the book that this takes place in, if you guys haven't seen it, or if you guys haven't read it before. But yeah, Chewbacca dies in a very heroic fashion.
It's great.
Takes an entire moon crashing on a planet to kill Chewbacca. And he gave up his life doing exactly what he would have wanted, and saving a member of Han's family.
It's an amazing story with a lot of heart and a lot of passion, and it impacts the storyline so much, and it's so good. And that's why we like the expanded universe, because the characters feel real. And from your video that you first made about showing how people like Luke Skywalker's character arc in the expanded universe makes more sense than it does in the new movies.
Yep.
And I'm repeating what you've said here, but I agree with it, is that in the expanded universe, he has become a leader. He is fulfilling Yoda and Obi-Wan's destiny. He is going to be the new way for the Jedi. He is the chosen one. He's balancing the Force and whatever. I mean, he's expanding it. He's a leader. He's motivational. He's wise. He's humble. In the new movies, he's a quitter. He's a complainer. He's a hermit. He gives up.
And he's not, the Grandmaster Luke Skywalker isn't someone that's perfect or anything like that. He has flaws, and we see a lot of times the decision he makes, affects a lot of people, and we see that weighing on him. So it's not to say that he's some, perfect character or anything, but he is our Luke Skywalker. That's the person that we grew up with. It's what it's like to me.
And I'd like to address that, because a lot of people say, well, now come on, Matt, Luke Skywalker in the expanded universe eventually becomes a super powerful. I mean, he does some really amazing stuff. You're like, well, he can't be stopped. Okay, well, here's the deal. What was Luke's weakness in the expanded universe? It was his fear of falling to the dark side. And it was amplified by outright fear. He would not do anything that would go near the gray area. In fact, because of his hesitation, his timidness, he hurt things. Things went wrong. Things went bad. And I love that about him. And it's a great storyline that his Achilles heel is himself.
Yes.
Fear of falling to the dark side, because he doesn't want to get close ever again. So he shies away when he should stay true. And that's a huge weakness and great way to balance out. I really, 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 for people who have not read the expanded universe, encourage you to pick up some of these books, especially when you're talking about the New Jedi Order and Legacy of the Force and the Fate of the Jedi, stuff like that. You're going to see great character arcs. Han Solo, just like you said, he's not a guy who abandons his family. Everything we learned in Return of the Jedi is a lie. If you watch 7, 8, and 9 comes out, because in 4, 5, and 6, Luke is all about hope. When everyone gives up, he's positive. We can take on the Death Star. When Empire Strikes Back at the end, he's not down. Dude's lost a hand. Han's gone. But you know what? He puts his arm around Leia. He's comforting her. It's going to be all right. We're going to make it through. And by the way, Empire Strikes Back, not a good day for anyone in the Rebel Alliance. All right? But Luke's still hopeful. At Return of the Jedi, he has the vision. He's seeing everyone holding hands. This is the new life. He is now a knight. He is going to renew the order. Yay. Oh, wait, in episode 7, here's the middle finger. It's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
And then Han, Han's a loner in episode 4. He doesn't have friends, but then he comes to save them. Even Empire Strikes Back, he's still trying to get back to his life, but his friends keep pulling him in. By Return of the Jedi, he is up to
embrace that new part of himself.
By the end of Empire, he's sacrificing himself in a way. He's giving himself up for his friends now. What a beautiful story arc for Han Solo in the movies.
Just to revert back.
Episode 7, he just gave up. Oh my gosh. It's awful. It's embarrassing. And if you read the expanded universe, you're going to get characters that I believe, now I know not everyone believes this, but I believe fit those characters from the movies more true than what these new movies are doing. That's not to say if you like the new movies, you're a moron. If you like the new movies, that's fine. That's your prerogative. But to me, as character arcs go, I think these books do a fantastic job in continuing what we saw from the growth of the characters in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. And yeah, a lot of the couple of videos that I've done, it's kind of been talking about some of those specific things. Now you mentioned, those of us who like the movies and everything like that, because there are a lot of people that are enjoying the movies and the characters that Disney's putting out. Mm-hmm. What do you feel about, kind of the splits that we see in the Star Wars fandom that we've kind of always seen there? Is it just internet culture these days? What do you think about it?
Sure. Let me be a jackass for 1 second and point something out.
Only one, huh?
When you say when we say, and I say this too, I slip up a lot and say this. When we say Disney Star Wars, Disney bought Lucasfilm, but Bob Iger is not sitting there making Kathleen Kennedy do any of these decisions.
That's true.
Folks, this is Lucasfilm. And the reason I am even trying to get better at saying Lucasfilm. The past few months, I've tried to correct myself whenever I say Disney Star Wars. No, it's Lucasfilm Star Wars. It's still Lucasfilm. You may not like the direction they're going in, and that's fine, but you can't blame that on Disney. Bob Iger he's not a micromanager. If you look at his profile, he does not micromanage. He's letting Kathleen Kennedy do her own thing. Was he concerned about the Solo flop? Yes, he was. And as your, chief executive, you do come down to the, shop every once in a while and say, what's going on here? Okay, pep talk, get back to it.
Especially when you look at toy sales and kind of everything like else that's indicating people might be losing interest.
The lack of traffic at Galaxy's Edge and stuff like that. And those are concerns. And as a businessman, he should be concerned. But to be honest, he has been very hands-off. So when we talk about Disney Star Wars, I know you're referring to the New Order, but basically it is Lucasfilm. It is the new movies, it is the new canon, but it is still Lucasfilm who is doing it. Now, with the thing, and that was a jackass comment to make, I'm sorry, but it's something that I think is important, the words that we use there, because it's Lucasfilm. That's who it is. I do not believe. A long time ago, I remember on my channel, I said, well, I don't know if Bob Iger is making these decisions or Kathleen Kennedy. It became very clear to me after a few more months that Kathleen Kennedy's making all the calls. She's making all the calls. Love it or hate it, she's making the calls there. Buck stops with her when it comes to Star Wars. That's why her elaborate plan of we're just chucking out a movie one a year was just bravo, just great job. It's like if she was a football coach. What do you want to do? Well, we want to get a touchdown. Okay, how? I don't know. Let's get a touchdown.
We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out along the way. Hut, hut, hut. But no, the thing is with the divisions in fandom, you're always going to have these. And they're in every little sci-fi, fantasy, culture, fan club. You got them everywhere. The truth of the matter is that those minor voices are the loudest in a lot of communities, but they are also the smallest in minority. When you go face to face, and I have talked to a lot of people who watch my channel face to face, and I don't see that animosity. I don't see that hate. The internet gives us some eternal immaturity. That's what the internet has blessed us with these days. And I think there's a lot of that out there. But at the same time, a lot of these people, in fact, I'm not going to call out the person, but there's a person who a lot politically, all these other stances, is probably the only thing we have in common is the expanded universe. But I told him on my channel, I bet you and I can have a cup of coffee and have a great time talking about anything. Because when it boils down to it, these voices you hear, this division, and there are people who on purpose cause division. There are people on purpose who go out of their way to stir the pot. We call them the trolls, right? They want to stir the pot and just have everyone mad at everyone. That's fine. They're bored. They have nothing better to do. And you should just ignore that. But the divisions in fandom, is it ripping the fandom apart? No, because when it looks like it. It looks like it. We're looking at a tempest in a teapot is what we're looking at, folks. When you see all this going on the internet, you'll notice it's the same handful of people who are making those comments, who are stirring the pot. And the majority of other people are very nice. In the expanded universe community, the movement on its own, I've heard people say, oh, you people are haters, you're this, you're that, name calling. And the thing is, dude, you haven't even talked to any of these people. Sure, there's one or two jerks out there. There's always going to be jerks. But for the most part, a lot of the people, and I don't want to brag, but the people who watch my channel, I've seen some very respectful disagreements on the comments. When I say respectful, meaning they're not just vividly attacking people, say, well, I feel you're wrong on this because this is this. But I mean, you're entitled to your opinion. And sometimes I'll chime in and I'll say, hey guys, first off, thank you for having a very civil conversation. And I think that's what we need, is more civility on the interwebs. Because with that, you could basically calm a lot of this division. And if they sat face to face with some of these people, there are some people on my channel who well, I don't know if they're there anymore, but there's 2 or 3 people who always used to thumbs down every video. I make a board game video. It has nothing to do with Star Wars, and they thumb it down. But
like they're subscribed to your channel, they're getting notifications just so they can stop what they're doing and give that thumbs down.
Give that thumbs down. And or they would always, and I just leave their comments there. I don't delete comments. I'll leave the comments there. Someone complained to me, said, my comments are getting blocked. And I don't know, someone must have reported them or something. I don't know. I didn't feel there was anything that negative, so I restored it, but I wasn't blocking it. But if someone tells me that's the issue, I'll say, okay, well, let me go and see if I can figure it out, because I want everyone's comments to be heard, even if they disagree with me, even if they don't like me, even if they want to make fun of me, that's totally fine, because it's the internet, folks. If you're going to let it, you're not going to make everyone happy. You're never going to make everyone happy. You're never going to, it's not going to happen. Everyone wants to be loved by everyone. It's not going to happen. So just get over it, or take a step back from social media. It'll do wonders for you.
Sometimes you do just kind of have to. We have a tendency, I feel like, as human beings, that even if we're getting kind of 99% positive feedback, like great video, good job, that was awesome, I'm really into this, we see that one comment that's like, you suck, and you're like, God, why does that guy think I suck? We get so focused on the small amount of negative energy that you get that it can sometimes overwhelm the 99% positive.
Dave Wolverton, who wrote Courtship of Princess Leia and a bunch of other short stories and children's stories, told me an amazing story one time. He said that he got a complaint about one of his books he'd written. Not one of his Star Wars books, one of his other books he'd written. And they were talking about how horrible it was, how he was a horrible author, how nothing made sense, and this is garbage, garbage, garbage. Well, and this is back in the early days of the internet, and Dave Wolverton was ready to write a letter back at him. And he was cussing him out. Listen to me, you little peon, you little pissant, you don't know this, you don't know that. And he said he was just writing, just angry. And before he hit send, he realized what he was doing. He's like, what am I doing? I'm a best-selling author on the New York Times list. Why do I care what this one guy thinks? Does he believe all that? Yes, he does. But you know what? My book wouldn't be a New York Times bestseller if everyone thought that way. So why am I wasting my time? And he actually told me, even though he's if anyone's ever talked to Dave Wolverton, the man, first off, I think is amazing, but he's a gentleman, meaning he does not name names. And he had told me that some of the younger authors today obsess too much on people who don't like their books. Now, I wonder who could he be talking about? Who was actually at that convention? His first book had not come out yet. But he was at the convention. And I'm wondering if, again, Mr. Wolverton named 0 names, but he said today we have a lot of younger authors who do go after people who hate their books and stuff, even though you still are you're a New York Times best-selling author, and you have time to poke at me. It's weird for hating your book.
I think I may have an idea of who you're talking about.
You may.
And
I think every viewer may.
It's funny because, the person we're referencing, you mind if I say it? I mean, I'm just going to
go ahead.
I have
no
idea. It's Chuck Wendig. It has to be Chuck Wendig. There's no way it's not. And I think one of the interesting things that I've kind of realized as someone that was a fan of the expanded universe and really into, the communities with Facebook groups and kind of the Give Us Legends campaign and stuff like that. We saw a lot of media attention and people from Lucasfilm attention kind of talking down to members. It seemed like talking down to members of the expanded universe community that just wanted to say, hey, this is what I like. I don't like this. Chuck Wendig was one of those people. And then a couple of years later, he pops up in, the Fandom Menace circles for doing essentially the same thing and behaving just like a completely unprofessional person just because someone has a different opinion.
Yeah, and everyone's welcome to a different opinion. I've always said that. When I review the Expanded Universe novels, there are some novels that people love that I absolutely hated. I'll just go ahead and say it since everyone will rage about it later on. I don't like Karen Traviss. I didn't like her Clone Wars books. And I know that's like, oh, what? Those are the best books in the world. And a lot of people put that in their top 10 books of all time. For me, I was what she used to call online a tally fan. Because I would just rage and rant about how off it was and point out how this and this and this never. I was one of those jerks online that would do that. And she said, well, you're just a tally fan. I'm not going to get in, that just stir the pot even more. I was like, how dare you call me a tally fan? You're an awful, you write cheap, what did I say, fan fiction or something. And
it's a term we've heard a lot of. So,
but the thing is, though, to be honest, there's a lot of people who love those things, and they're more than welcome to. And I welcome that. Now, thankfully, on my channel, again, we're talking about the rift here. I don't see it as much because I see people that, well, Matt, I really enjoyed those books, or vice versa. Say, wow, Matt, I can't believe you liked that book. I hated that book. That's fine. You're totally welcome to get on there and disagree.
Yeah.
And I think if it's up to us, what I mean by us is people who have a responsibility, who are on YouTube, who are getting more and more following. So the more people that follow me, the more I feel I bear a responsibility. That may sound silly, but I don't need to rant every week. People love it when you do a good rant video and it gets lots of hits and everything, and that's fine. But the thing is, though, I don't want it to be negative. I want to celebrate the expanded universe. That's why I'm doing these reviews, because it's fun. It's fun to talk about the expanded universe. I mean, you and I sat and talked a long time before we even started this recording, because the expanded universe there's so much to talk about. First off, like you said, there's a plethora of information out there and stuff and what if situations to talk about. You could go on and on and on, and that's the beauty of it. And the thing is, when back in the day before Disney bought out the franchise, all we had was forums full of petty people like myself especially, who would argue about why Kevin J. Anderson is the best author, not the worst that everyone says. That's the one thing that I definitely disagree with a majority of people on. They hate Kevin J. Anderson, and I love him. But we would argue about petty things like that. And now I look back on that fondly going, wow, those were the only problems we had.
Yeah.
What authors we liked and didn't, what stories we liked and did. That was the things we concerned ourselves with. Now it seems like it's
people that were post Return of the Jedi or Old Republic era, like that used to be what we were fighting about. Now it's a little more immense.
Well, you had, and even online, you had what they called the elitist. They only believed in the original trilogy, and the prequel trilogy sucked. So you had the prequel supporters and the elitist, or I think that's what they called themselves. Anyway, the thing was, I enjoyed the prequels. Will I defend them? Never. I'll never defend them. However, I did enjoy them. So I'm sitting on the bench on that one. But there's a lot of good things about the prequels that I do enjoy, but I also can see the points of people when they critique it. And that's what I think we need. We need a better perspective on all sides of the argument. Well, I try to look at everyone's perspective before I give an opinion about anything these days, because people present things in a forced perspective. And I think that's awful. And if you don't do your homework, folks, all you can do is look at it through that perspective. When I used to give my quotes about defending the expanded universe, I said, hey, don't believe me. Go to the Star Wars Insider, this issue. I would say that. And I remember how I got some of my followers said, holy cow. He said, I looked up and verified every quote. Everything you said was exactly where you quoted it from? I was like, well, yeah.
I remember some of your old videos before you were quite as tech savvy as you are now. When you'd physically have all the magazines and all the papers, and everything, you'd be rifling through them. You'd have this printed out stuff that you have in folders.
Yeah, I had the paper.
I watched I remember a video where you were like, let me show you this video, and you just hold up your cell phone to the camera.
Yeah. Hey, to my credit, I had like maybe 100 subscribers back then. I would hold up the video, and the sad thing is that one video that I mentioned a long time ago is no longer on YouTube, and sadly I did not hold up, or sometimes I'd hold up the audio because I knew the video on video was gonna be bad. And I didn't do that at all. And I thought I did, because some of those are like, there's a video of Timothy Zahn saying,
I was just going to say that, the one of Timothy Zahn where he's at a convention a little bit after, I think, Disney, bought out Star Wars, and they basically asked
No, it's before.
Is it before that? Well,
someone said, what if
there was a reboot?
Yeah, did a reboot. And then Timothy Zahn, dead straight in the face, not even kidding, that'd be an awful idea. Now, if you want to say, well, then Mr. Zahn, you were talking about both sides of your mouth. No, this is a man who knows where his butter is bread on, where his bread is buttered on. Excuse me, screwed up that analogy. But anyway, he knows. Hey, these are the people who can cut me checks. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Whatever you say, jump. I say how high.
Yeah, but it's not like he's gone out of the way to trash the expanded universe or anything. I would say anything but that. At so many of these conventions on his Facebook, he's always posting. He's been given a forced perspective of the community. At early days, there were some people, we're calling out names on force.net, morons, and they were saying, yeah, they want to change. They want to get rid of the new canon and replace it with the old canon. No, they don't. You don't. I even wrote the idiot, and I actually read off the emails too, because he misquoted me on the emails. But the thing was, I was like, that is not what we believe. And yes. Yeah, I remember exactly what you're talking about with the when that basically hit piece about the billboard and everything like that, right?
And that's the other thing, when the billboard, that was before the billboard, but the thing that he was doing interviews with people and in good faith, but he was getting the most angriest teenagers. He was interviewing 16-year-olds, 15-year-olds who were just ranting on the internet, who he knew he could get great quotes and talk about how, insane this expanded universe followers were. And I said, hey, look, man, I know that you've reached out to a few of the people. Let me just warn you, these are kids. These are 15, 16-year-olds. You might want to watch how you quote them, because they're just full of passion. They have a little bit of immaturity. They may say things, but that is not representative of what this movement's about. He's like, oh, yeah. And of course, with me, my answer surprised him because I was way more civil than he wanted me to be. So my quotes kind of got pushed to the side. I was not involved in his little hit piece that much because there wasn't anything, no damning evidence against me, I guess I should say. And I remember I wrote him afterwards, said, hey, that was awful what you did. It was awful what you did. It was dishonest. And, he was a big jerk. But that's the kind of people who want to stir up things. And whenever you hear something about anyone, now I beg this of anyone, do the homework. I had a ton of people who subscribed to my channel tell me, said, Matt, I came to watch your channel because I heard you were a jerk. You were this, you're blank, blank, blank. And I said, well, I'm going to tell this blank, blank off. And he said, then I watched your videos and saw that you were none of that. I said, well, thank you for taking the time to watch the videos before speaking your mind. I've even had people apologize to me later, which no apology needed, but say, you know what, I misjudged you. I said a lot of awful things in your comments. And now that I'm looking at some of your videos, I see that you're not that person that I was told you were. And that's all I can ask for, is that you just give anyone a shot. Now, they may turn out to be a jerk. They may turn out to be the jerk you always assumed they would be, but at least do your homework.
Yeah, or they just may turn out to have an opinion that's different from you.
And that's totally fine too.
Yeah, and you were kind of talking about the elitists and stuff like that before. I think one of the things I see thrown around a lot is people saying, well, if you don't like this, if you don't like The Last Jedi, you're not a Star Wars fan. If you've never read the expanded universe before, well, you're not a real Star Wars fan. And I think that is so. I'm never going to be someone that is going to judge your fandom. If you tell me that you're a Star Wars fan, then you are. I may judge your opinions, and I think you might be wrong about a movie or a book or whatever. I'm more than free to do that. But if someone tells me that they're a Star Wars fan, it doesn't matter how much experience they have. To me, they are a fan.
Yeah, it's called gatekeeping. Who are you to tell me what I can and cannot like? I got that a lot. Say, man, if you don't watch or read the new canon, then you're never going to be a real Star Wars fan. That is very subjective there, sir. The truth of the matter is everyone, can you be a hardcore? This is an argument that came up a long time ago. You used to call the Washington Post referred to us as hardcore fans. And that takes a lot of, new canon fans off it. You guys aren't hardcore. And of course, we gladly accepted that title. Well, I said, look, guys, hardcore just means we want to know more about, something, whatever, then in this case, the movies. We want to know more about the planets, about the aliens, about the creatures, about the continuing adventures or previous adventures of these characters that we love. We want to know who is in the background of the cantina or Jabba's palace. We want to know all the no detail.
It's crazy. It goes when you think about those, Tales from the Mos Eisley Cantina, and this entire book that's full of these short stories of these characters that had 2
seconds of screen time.
Exactly. It's crazy, some of the stories that were born out of this universe.
Yes, and it's crazy how interested you are in those stories. Those tales, the tales from Mos Eisley, tales from Bounty Hunters, and tales from Jabba's Palace are phenomenal because they took characters who none of us should care about. But you can pick them out in the movie, and they gave them backstory. And now, when you watch the movie, when I watch the movies, I always think, that poor Rancor keeper. I know what happens to him afterwards. You're like, oh man. Or you see Derek Jericho. You don't even know he's an Anzadi. Did I pronounce that right?
I think
Anzadi?
So.
Okay.
I don't know if I've heard it pronounced.
He's just a man smoking a peace pipe at the Mos Eisley Cantina. You'll miss him if you sneeze. And the thing is, though, you're like, he's the most dangerous man in the cantina. You don't know, though. But that's the beauty of the expanded universe. It takes these characters, these backgrounds, what goes on. What was James Luceno's one? People are going to hate me for this. It's called, I just forgot the name. It slipped me. It took place during episode 1.
Darth Plagueis.
Darth Plagueis. Doggone it.
Oh, you're good.
I lost a ton of subscribers just there. But anyway, Darth Plagueis really enhanced how you watch episode 1. You watch episode 1 with a totally new perspective. And when I read that, I was like, holy cow. And you immediately want to pop in episode 1, even though nothing in the book pops up in the movie, but it's all that happens between the scenes. You're like, oh. And that's what I'm talking about. The expanded universe enhanced your love of the movies. And so much so that, to me, this is Star Wars, not the movies. I have the movies. I've watched them every once in a while. But these books, they tell better stories. George created a wonderful universe. To give him all the credit for that. The man had such an imagination. In fact, a lot of stuff from his direct notes was taken and put into the expanded universe. Okay? The expanded universe is still a source of inspiration on the new movies.
Oh, you mean they're not just using all their creative freedoms that they have now that they were able to just get rid of the expanded universe?
Boy, that ticked me off. That video was probably the worst thing Lucasfilm ever put out. It was so insulting to see them pay lip service, weak lip service, because everyone in that video, they'd only read Timothy Zahn's trilogy, and you could see it. You knew it. It's, oh yeah, Timothy Zahn's trilogy. Oh, that was so good. They couldn't talk about anything else because they'd never read anything else. Farewell, EU. Here comes the new canon. Yeah, now are you happy? No. You guys are the most insulting ever. You don't even know anything. You never even read it. You never gave it the time. It was so insulting to see that video, and it just enraged me. I remember when I saw that video, I was like, what? This is awful. This is terrible. Kicking the can down the road. And the thing is, we're going to get rid of it for creative reasons. So, we can free up our creativity. That hasn't been the case. Now, for those people who are arguing that, saying, you're right, it hasn't. Shame on you, Lucasfilm, for your new canon stuff and what you've done here. Okay, folks, they bought the car. If they want to strip it down for pieces, that's their prerogative. It sucks. It sucks. But they bought it. They bought that. Lucasfilm owns the rights to all these stories. And yes, you are correct, Matt. They're ripping things out. They're ripping pages out and characters out, or all this, situation stories, and they're just, butchering it, making a Frankenstein monster for the feature films. Yes, but they own it too. So, I mean, yeah, it's a double-edged sword there. We can complain about it, but they also own it and they can do whatever they want. I had a buddy, when I was growing up, there was a kid who bought a Millennium Falcon, and he was the kid from Toy Story 1. Who was that kid that tore up all his toys?
Yeah. It's
whatever his name was. I can't.
Spud or something.
Oh, Spider. You're right. Something like that with an S. Sam, Snyder, whatever. Anyway. Scud, Skull, whatever.
Something.
Whatever the kid's name was. That kid did exist in my neighborhood. He bought toys and would laugh maniacally, that's the word, as he would destroy them in front of us. He was playing, his mom had bought him the Millennium Falcon. He flew it around, he picked up a brick, and he said, meteor shower. And to the horror of all of us, he dropped the brick onto the Millennium Falcon and smashed it, and thought it was so funny, he took a bunch of bricks and smashed it up. And it was pieces of the Millennium Falcon. I was like, oh.
Did he say, never tell me the odds?
Deuces. Oh, God. That man's in prison now. Anyway, the thing was, though, as much as I hated what he did to Millennium Falcon and what I would have done, I mean, I would have treasured if I would have had a authentic Millennium Falcon back in the day. We were poor. We couldn't afford big ships. And I was like, oh, I was picking up the pieces going, no, because it was beyond repair. But to be honest, his mom bought it, but it was his to do with what he wanted. How he did it, we can disagree with. But that he did it, oh well. If you want to go out and buy something and then break it for whatever reason, that's your prerogative. So what Lucasfilm's doing with the new canon, do I like it? Nope. But it's their canon. It's theirs. They can do what they want with it. It sucks. It sucks to see cheap, Sam's Choice versions of our beloved characters and situations from and almost panel for panel, page for page, word for word in some cases. It's disheartening to see that, but it is what it is.
So what I'm hearing is if it's your Rose Tico doll, you can cut the head off of it, and that's just that, right?
Here you go. Go ahead. Is she in the new canon? I am so stupid when it comes to the new canon. I'm kidding. I know who that is. All of her action, by the way, all these action figures can be found at your Dollar Tree.
Oh, yes. I'm sure they have an entire corner.
I'm not even making that up. I saw all the action figures at Dollar Tree. I've seen the new canon books at Dollar Tree. I took pictures and told my buddy, I said, hey, if you're still reading Star Wars, wait till they come to Dollar Tree, because they had like 4. They had 4 novels at Dollar Tree.
That's sad.
I've never in my day seen a Star Wars novel at a Dollar Tree. If that would have happened, I'd have freaked out. I was like, what is this doing here? Because you never find it's that next to some little I Was a Cat Lady biography. That's at Dollar Tree. I know why you're there, lady, but I don't know why this would be. Why is there stories about Luke, Han, Leia? I mean, the big ones. This isn't a story. It wasn't a story about one of the side characters. This is a story about the main characters. And they're in Dollar Tree. What is going on?
Yeah, and I think, the expanded universe consistently, on New York Times bestsellers lists and everything like that. And this is with not the same exposure that they've had with the new Lucasfilm and Disney partnership.
No. Go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, go ahead, Matt.
Okay. The problem is with that is that they are bound really tight on what they can tell. The expanded universe did have boundaries, but the same thing was Lucas had no intention of creating more movies. No intentions. Forget what he was saying at the end. He said, yeah, I had 7, 8, 9 written out. He was never going to do it. Only when he sold it and Bob Iger asked him, you can look at the Bob Iger interview when it got sold. They interviewed Bob Iger. He said, yeah. Then he asked George, hey, can you write out some plans for what you do for 7, 8, 9? So he did.
Just right then, yes.
Yeah, George had no intention of making any more, sequels. And you can look at the Charlie Rose interview on Dateline. He said, so episodes 3 it, no more? He said, no. He said, what if someone wanted to make a sequel? He said, no. I mean, he was adamant. Now, George Lucas was senile too. He'd probably say yes the next day. But regardless of that, there's a lot of interviews out there that you can look at him saying, no, there's no more out there. So even though he said, yeah, here's a 7, 8, 9, that came mainly from Bob Iger, just wanting to get his ideas. When they saw his ideas, they trashed it. I don't know if you ever saw the Stephen Colbert interview where he interviewed George. It was January of the year after they sold Disney. And he asked him what was his, or after Force Awakens came out, maybe that was it. He asked him what was his idea. And he said it was going to be focused on Han and Leia's kids, Luke and Leia's kids. He said, like the books.
Yes.
That's his quote.
Yes.
And so you're like, what? You're like, what was he thinking? This is connected? Because in all of George's mannerisms, why would he change things in the expanded universe? Why would it matter? But no, he knew Lucasfilm, his company, was trying to connect things. He said, okay, well, if we're going to do that, then you guys can't do this. You need to change this to that. Now, was there contradictions? Yes. I'm not ignorant to say that this was a perfect world. But regardless of that, it had its flaws, it had its ups, had its downs, but it was still overall really good.
Yeah, for sure. We were kind of talking about book sales, things like that. For essentially as soon as, they announced that they were getting rid of the expanded universe to move forward with the new canon, you have been a really big member of this push to get us more stories from the expanded universe, now referred to as legends. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us a little bit about kind of the stuff that you've done, the path you see forward, the progress that we've made, and kind of what people can do if they want to see more of these stories going forward?
Sure. Let me preface this by saying Ryan gives me way more credit than I should. I'm not a leader of anything. I'm not a mastermind of things. I'm a guy who sits in his room and talks about the expanded universe. Let's make that clear. I am king of my little anthill. But regards to that, and you're very kind, Ryan, but regards to that, the things that expanded universe fans can do, first off, enjoy the expanded universe. Share it with other people. There's a lot of people out there who do not like the way the news story is going. And I have seen tons of people come to my channel. It's one of the best things. I get these once or twice a week. I get someone asking me, hey, Matt, just found your channel, didn't know about the expanded universe, hated the new movies, and got interested in reading the expanded universe. Where do you think I should start? It's a great question. I mean, there's no really good answer either because there's a lot of great places. So I'll basically poll them and say, well, what area are you interested in? And then give a suggestion. But the thing is, that's what we need to do. Just keep the growth alive. Tell them about Legends. Share your love of it. They crack open that first book. They're sold, man, if it's a good book. Yeah. If it's not Dawn of the Jedi, they're sold though. They're sold on it because they're gonna love it because they're written with a lot of care, with a lot of interest. The detail that these authors go into. I've interviewed some of these authors, and it's outstanding. The study they have to do to make sure they connect things, and a lot of times they want to connect it. It's not that they have to; they wanted to connect it, and that's more challenging than coming up with a new story. To say it hinders creativity to keep the expanded universe around is incorrect. To get creative, you got to keep building upon that story that others have built and make it more majestic. In my opinion, the books went like this. They got better. The reason people kind of make fun of the Bantam novels is they're not as good as the Del Rey. But to be honest, Bantam had a lot of solid stories. But they didn't take that extra step that Del Rey did, and the books matured with their audiences. And if you show this to people, if you show them these books, if they get to read them, and that just spreads the movement in a way to where there's more people asking for more Legends. And here's here is the basic truth, folks. If not just Lucasfilm, if Marvel, if Del Rey think they can make money by giving you more legend stories, you better believe that they're going to be on the phone calling Lucasfilm saying, hey, we want to do, just like Marvel did just recently. Marvel came out with a new legend. We got new expanded universe this year.
Yep. Marvel 108.
Marvel 108. They continued the series. Now, they asked Lucasfilm. Lucasfilm granted them, so we know it's available. But Marvel and Del Rey have to ask. So we need to tell. And by the way, that was a good selling comic book for Marvel too. If you followed the monthly comic book sales, it sold really well, better than a lot of their other comic books.
Yeah, it sold 60,000 copies.
Yes.
The only thing that sold, or sorry, maybe 40. I think 40. It was 40. The only thing that sold better than it was their the Galaxy's Edge #1, which their #2 issue that month dropped to 20,000 in sales.
Right.
And their normal Star Wars numbered series. And then Boba Fett #1 sold right the same as Marvel 108.
Yeah. So there's a lot of interest out there. Marvel saw that, but now they need fan interaction. They want folks. The comic book industry is dying on the vine. It is dying on it's booming at the box office, but it is dying on the vine in the actual printed pages of a comic book.
Yeah.
Right now, comic book people will listen to anyone. If we tell Marvel we want to buy more legend stories, I guarantee you, Marvel, we don't have to fight. Marvel knocks on Lucasfilm's door and they ask for more legends. And I think it can happen. If Del Rey, by the way, the book industry too could always use a good kick in the pants for extra sales. If Del Rey gets lots of feedback saying, yeah, well, hey, we really wish you'd make some more new legend stories, when are you going to do that? If they get enough, yes. If they see the money's there, Lucasfilm should go ahead and do it too because it makes sense. One of the issues that Star Wars as a franchise is going on right now is that there's a billion things for little kids to be interested in. It's not back in the old days where there was Star Wars and nothing else. There's a lot of competition for the new generations and even the current generation. Look at any generation. We got tons of things to spend our money on, and everyone's coming up with franchises. Everyone's coming up with the next greatest, biggest thing. It's hard to keep someone's attention. George Lucas was very, very fortunate to bring out his prequels when he did, because right after 2005, we're getting Harry Potter. Now we're getting more, and then we're getting a few years later, we're getting the first Iron Man, MCU. Now there's so much competition. No wonder Star Wars isn't the shining, guaranteed box office hit as it should be. Okay, yeah. And by trying to connect to these new fans, they've ostracized a lot of the older fans. A great way to incorporate those older fans again is you don't have to make new movies. Give us more books. Give us more. Like you said, a lot of these books were in the New York Times best-selling every time they came out. They sold. Why stop a good thing? Keep it rolling. Keep it rolling. Keep it going out. How hard would it be for someone to go on StarWars.com and open up a little Legends tab? You could click on. You could read maybe a short story a week. I think that'd be awesome. It'd drum up more traffic to their website. Hire me, Lucasfilm. I'm available.
And the idea that they couldn't have two separate continuities is so insane when you look at the rest of these, comics industries and Star Trek, things like that have had these different continuity. Fans aren't stupid. Walking Dead is a perfect example. You have a hit comic book, a hit TV show, and guess what, folks? They take place in the same universe, the same type of universe. They use some of the same characters, but they have completely different stories. Yeah.
Basically, season 1 is pretty much spot on with the comic book, and season 2 they take a left turn and then go from. They follow the beats, but the characters, the interactions, who lives, who dies is completely different. Is any fan in Walking Dead confused between the comic books and the TV show? No, none. Fans aren't stupid. So why does Lucasfilm continue to uphold? They can't believe this. I cannot believe they're that dumb to think that the fans are stupid. They wouldn't understand mixing canon, because comic books do it all the time. There's tons and other places to do it. Shoot, Star Trek wishes they had some continuity within their books and comic books. But fans know that if I read a book, it's not going to connect. It may connect to this movie, but not the other movies. Fans know that. Fans aren't stupid. So Lucasfilm needs to admit, yeah, okay, let's do some more Legends. Are you threatened? What if they like that story better? Who cares? As long as they're buying it, as long as you want to create a synergy with Star Wars among fans old and new, and reach out to them in any platform that you can. And expanding or continuing Legends is an excellent way to do that. You keep those old fans happy. If new fans people who don't like the new movies coming out, fine. Here's another separate storyline. Here's an alternate storyline you can read. You might enjoy that. There are people who hate the Walking Dead TV show and love the comic books. I didn't hate it before, but the past 3 seasons have been awful. I feel like I'm being dragged through the mud, but the comic book I think is fantastic. Okay. And as long as there's an alternative, but if Walking Dead was only a TV show, I don't think I would not have that much interest in watching it. But that is a comic book as well, gives me an alternative. Give fans the alternative. Another great opportunity, I'm going to mention it here, mentioned to you earlier, is starting hopefully in October, we'll be running another billboard fundraiser. For those who don't recall, a few years ago, a bunch of the Expanded Universe people banded together, threw some money together, and put up a billboard near Lucasfilm. We found out where Lucasfilm was, which not secret location, by the way, but we looked at billboards that were close along the way. Now we're looking at ones that are on the way of where where the employees drive into work. We found a work route. See, I know this is not stalking. Anyway, but we just want them to read it. So we heard that from Lucasfilm employees that they had to drive, because even though it was close, it wasn't on their work route. They take the whatever highway that is to get off the off-ramp and go there. So it's not usually their route to go to work. They had to drive out of their way to see the billboard. And they enjoyed it, but even though it was close, it wasn't in the right spot. So we're trying to get in the right spot where they don't have to drive out of their way. How thoughtful are we?
Oh, yeah. But we want nicest people.
Yeah, nice people. But we want them to see it. And it's going to be something short and sweet, like, hey, we just want, dear Lucasfilm, I do want to say that again. And, we please continue Legends, because more Star Wars is great for everyone. I think this is a great way for fans to put their money where their mouth is. And if the organization that puts it together, very trustworthy, solid people, they're going to put together, raise that money for a billboard, and we're going to put it out there years after that we did the first one, to show that now that the trilogy is complete, we're still here, and we still want. And I think that billboard, I know the first one made a lot. I know it made some Lucasfilm employees very happy. They were happy to see that people still enjoyed that old story, but that we're still here, I think is really going to impress them. And if they see fans who keep buying billboards, heck, it worked for Crystal Pepsi. It worked for Surge. You don't know I'm a big soda aficionado, if that's a word.
It's not usually a word associated with soda, but it is a word.
No, there you go. But a soda connoisseur. Maybe that's a better word. But Surge is a drink popular in the 90s that fans wanted to bring back. So what did they do? They bought billboards along the route. This is where I got the idea. Along the route of Coca-Cola's headquarters, saying we want more Surge, bring Surge back. Well, guess what, folks? I have a Surge in my fridge right now because of that. You can buy them off Amazon, or if you're in a town that has a Coca-Cola bottling company, then you get it for, at your local Walmart for $1 or Dollar Tree for $1. Great stuff. Surge is around because the fans asked for it. Fans ask for it. They show initiative. They're going to get it. Same thing with Crystal Pepsi too. Fans ask. There's a big online evidence, a YouTube guy who actually started that. So I'm saying we do this again, but we do it with billboards, and we do it in front of Lucasfilm's face, and we ask politely. And to be honest, if they still see people, like, look at these people, they're still putting up billboards. I think that would definitely nudge the right people in the right direction. Because we're not asking for them to get rid of the new movies. No, that's fine. There's some people out there who love the new canon. Hooray for you. Hooray for you. Enjoy it. honestly, there's no sarcasm here. Enjoy the new canon if that's what you love. But if they see people who are interested in the legends continuing, they're buying billboards in front of they're doing it on our route now because they really care about it. Yes, I think that is going to make a difference. I think that is going to make a push. I think we're going to get more than just a comic book. I do believe that because I've seen it happen in other things. So I think that's a great way. And hopefully in the months to come, I'll have more information to share with everyone. But I really do believe that's a great way to put our money where our mouth is and show Lucasfilm that, hey, lots of fans love these stories.
Yeah, I think that's great. And, I donated, how was that, 2015, 2014, when that first billboard went up. And it got a lot of attention. A lot of people trying to badmouth the expanded universe because that billboard went up for some reason. It's
got some media coverage. My buddy was mad because I was mentioned on IGN. Something happened. I should mention this. My name got tied into that I was the ringleader. I was the one that came up with the idea, but I was not the one who did all the legwork.
Right.
At all. And it was not all my money that went into it. And I was embarrassed when I saw my name pop up. And it wasn't in every article, but it was. And I don't exactly know how that came about. But the thing was, this is a group effort. It's not just one person. It's not just it. If we got a new Legends novel that came out, I'm not going to get on my channel and say, look what I did. Well, I mean, I can, but that's only if everyone else does it too. Because it's all the fans together, putting your voices out. One voice of a guy in his bed, one of his bedrooms here, talking about the expanded universe isn't going to change Lucasfilm's mind. But everyone banding together and buying billboards, that could change their mind and give everyone what they want. And so I think it's just an excellent, excellent opportunity to show there's a deep interest and still love for the expanded universe.
Yeah, and I agree with you. And I think that doing that billboard helps on social media, saying that you want more of this content.
Yes.
On Facebook, on Star Wars Books, post something. Yes. Obviously, they may not be super responsive to, I effing hate this new stuff. Give me this. Right. Being a little, polite and respectful is, sometimes the best way to get the job done in that kind of area.
Folks, you should always be polite and respectful because I'll be honest, I haven't directly talked to people from Del Rey. The Del Rey people are very friendly with the Twin Suns Foundation. They are some really awesome guys. They're really awesome guys. They're very supportive. I actually got a keychain. Here it is. From one of them because a few of them do watch the channel. When Star Wars Kenobi came out, they came with a keychain they gave out that showed a crate dragon, and the battery died finally. Okay. But I was going to play it for you. But the thing was, they came by the Twin Suns booth because they thought I was going to be there because I'm affiliated with the Twin Suns, and they asked if I was there. And one of them gave me this. They said, well, can you send this to him? And that was really, really nice of them. And I really appreciated the gift, the thoughtfulness, the fact that they're watching the channel. It made me slightly regret my fake reaction video to The Last Jedi, posted the exact same day that they gave me the gift. I bet they would have taken that gift back if they'd have seen that video. I remember someone from the Twin Suns says, Matt, why'd you do that video? I said, because it's funny. They said, Del Rey just gave me something to send to you. I was like, oh, did they?
Still going to send it though?
Yeah, should we send it though? They probably asked for it back the next day, but it was already sent.
Yeah, but if you guys don't know, real quick, Twin Suns Foundation as an organization that's been around for quite a while. What they do is they raise money and they buy a bunch of Star Wars Expanded Universe to donate to children that are in hospital beds, throughout the country. I don't know if they do any international work or not. I
don't know if they have, but they've gone to hospitals, they've gone to libraries, they've gone to schools. I actually was super privileged to get the chance to donate books to a school once. And it's the most amazing thing. I can only imagine what it would be like to go to the children's hospitals, but I hear the stories. The children light up, they're excited. We team up with the 501st who come dressed in costume. The kids are just pumped. They get these stories. First off, it sucks to be in the hospital, period. And to have visitors is cool, but to have visitors bringing you gifts and dressing up in Star Wars gear and celebrating you, it's it's such a fulfilling thing that Twin Sons does. And when I got the opportunity to donate to a local school in my town, I was like, sure. And so they sent the books and I donated them. It was a big ordeal. I felt like the Pied Piper. I was picking up kids along the hallway and going down the hall. They didn't tell the principal I was there. And the principal's like, who is this dude? Stranger danger, kids. I remember when the teachers pulled him and said, no, he's donating books. He said, okay. Because he's like, what is this ruckus? And I had a trail of kids following me around because they were so excited. Their library did not have a science fiction section. It had fantasy, but not science fiction. It didn't, and the fantasy section was like a one shelf. I said, this is it? So I said, where's your sci-fi section? We don't have one. You don't have one? And it's a little library. But I put those Star Wars books up and all of them were like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And even the teacher whose class I accidentally disrupted because I walked in to ask, I didn't know where the library was. I didn't know that the class was going on. And the whole class got excited when I mentioned the Star Wars books. And I just did not realize where I was and interrupted. I apologize, but she was okay because she actually was a Expanded Universe fan, it turned out.
Awesome.
And she said, let me see what you got. She went, oh, I've read these. These are good. I went, you've read them? Wow. Very impressed. But it was so much
culture as well.
Yeah, these books are for a more civilized aged. But I was so impressed by that. And it was so much fun. The kids' faces were lighting up. They couldn't wait to read these books. Check them out at the library. Folks, check out what Twin Sons is doing. They're doing some amazing stuff. And if you're an Expanded Universe fan, you'll love them. They do have a fundraiser going on right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I might reach out to Brian Borg and let him know that we talked about it here and maybe put a link in the video so people can go check it out. So I definitely agree about all those ways are positive ways that we can kind of try to spread the message and expose more people, and everything like that is a great way to possibly get more Legends content.
True. And I do believe it's possible. I do believe because
100% it is. It's happened.
If people say, I will spend my money on this, yes, then we need to make it happen. You have the Jaina Solo Hasbro toy behind you there.
Oh.
Is that correct?
Yep, that's the Black Series, Jaina Solo.
Okay. Yeah, you want to get your hands on one of those? You won't find that. I saw, no joke, I went to what's that called? When the clearance outlet stores, they take all the extra stuff and dump it out there. There was a ton of Black Series figures all on the wall. I looked everywhere for a Jaina. No Jaina. They had everyone else though. The Expanded Universe people, they created that one. And oh my goodness.
The Revan one, right?
Revan are expensive. You're not going to see them at a bargain outlet store. Now that should tell Hasbro something. You got something going on. There's Expanded Universe fans are avid fans, and they will buy it if you make it.
Every year, those Black Series polls, there's always a lot of movement on them from Expanded Universe.
Well, the last little debacle, they got Ben Skywalker got deplatformed before he won. He was going to win.
They must just not like redheads, I guess.
Yeah, I'm telling you. Well, some of the fan sites were, and it was wrong. They took it off. This is not fair. Yes, it is fair. And by the way, those are still the highest selling. You look at on eBay; those are the highest selling ones. All the other ones you can buy for $5.
Oh yeah.
But you can't find a Jaina Solo for $5 on the internet. So it's a joke that Ben didn't get rewarded. And I hope if they ever do that again, they'll give Expanded Universe fans another shot. And they should be asking Expanded Universe fans, what do you want to do next? Oh, yes, we're buying it. We're buying it.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've covered a lot of stuff. Obviously, man, I can't believe we've been talking for almost an hour and a half at this point. But so one thing I did kind of want to talk to you about is, you say you're not a leader of anything, and absolutely no one community or movement or anything like that is, based off of one person. But, you are part of the Expanded Universe community.
Sure.
I feel like I'm part of the Expanded Universe community as well as the Fandom Menace. What do you think, kind of what are your thoughts on the Fandom Menace, kind of where it came from, where it's going, those kind of things?
Oh, you're going to hit me with that question.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right. No. Let's do it. All right. So you on your channel have a lot of Expanded Universe fans that are also Fandom Menace fans. Okay. I believe that those are two different communities with two separate goals. As far as I can tell, the Phantom Menace is not about restoring or continuing the Expanded Universe. They just want better quality stories from Lucasfilm. Is that correct?
Well, I'm not going to speak for everybody, but I think,
okay.
You know, most Fandom Menace members were upset with what they're getting, whether it be from Star Wars or some other product, and feel like their voices haven't been heard. Or if they were heard, they were called racist, sexist, bigot,
Gotcha.
whatever, that your opinion is wrong because of this.
Gotcha. The same reaction I got when I said I wasn't going to bother reading the new canon stuff and stick with the old.
Exactly.
Okay, got it. All right, that's fine. That's fine. I can understand their plight. I'm not a part of the Phantom Menace. It's not my war. And I can't really talk too much about it because, again, I feel like I still need to do a little bit more research on the matter. There's a lot of he said, she said, obviously,
there always is.
that goes on that I'd like to look at. But and the reality of it is, with Phantom Menace people, I understand where they're coming from. The only warning I would give is the message you portray. And this is not everyone. This is not everyone. And the same can be said with the Expanded Universe movement. You have these voices who are very radical, and they go a little too far and get a little too aggressive. And again, in the Expanded Universe movement, we have the exact same people. There are people who say, if you love the new canon, you're not a Star Wars fan. Oh, whatever. Get out of here. I've even told those fans, so you guys are wrong. we all love the Expanded Universe, but you guys are wrong to say that. Or, you know, who's to say who should like what? But and I say this with the EU community, just watch your language. Watch the way you present yourself. Yelling and screaming at a corporation is not going to help. And you can point to, and I thought what Rian Johnson, how he talks down to the fans and mocks them and ridicules them, I think that's awful. I did videos on that. I was questioning why people like he and, well, Chuck Wendig eventually got bounced. But why did you let Chuck go that long is my question. Anyone, I mean, you look at, if someone from the Twin Sons Foundation had said half the things, just a handful of things that Chuck Wendig said on his Twitter account, they'd have been bounced by Lucasfilm immediately, dropped like a hot rock. So why is an author who is currently writing books for you, why are you letting him get away with talking like that? I didn't understand that. And I believe Rebel Force Radio made the same comments, did they not? I
believe so.
I believe they questioned that what was Lucasfilm doing, letting these, Rian Johnson badmouth the fans. I think they said, hey, Ryan, take it easy. It's Twitter. Let it go. Ryan, I just deleted 10 years of my history so that you guys wouldn't realize what I said back then. Johnson,
it's still happening. A couple of days ago, I saw him firing off at people.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's unprofessional. I understand everyone's frustration with that. But again, folks, you're looking at someone who never saw Last Jedi. I never saw Force Awakens. It's so weird to me that I'm walking by, just yesterday, walking by that discount outlet, looking at the Star Wars action figures and not knowing who these people were. I felt old. It's like, who is that? What is that? I remember I was thinking, wow, that's kind of embarrassing, because there was not there's, Expanded Universe. Man, I knew about the book coming out weeks in advance, months and years in advance. You were avid. You went to the store immediately the day it came out. Now books are coming out all the time. I'm like, oh, did that come out? What's that about? Okay, who's that? Oh, someone from the movie? Okay. To me, I just hold no interest. So for me, what's going on in the new canon just is not my fight. That's how I feel about it. I do think both are kind of separate. Now, can someone in the Expanded Universe be a part of the Phantom Menace? Sure. Because you know what? I'm not a gatekeeper. I'm not going to tell you how to run your life. I'm not. That's just not me. It's for other people, I guess, who feel like they have the time to do that, but it's not for me. So like what you like. You know, if you like the color red and I like the color blue, good on you. You know, again, though, you have people on both sides who are avid about this is what you can like, this is what you can't like. A lot of people in the expanded universe community say that, you know, well, Filoni's Clone Wars never happened. Well, that's fine if you want to believe that, but technically it's part of the canon. You know, love it or hate it. I'm 50-50 down the road when it comes to Filoni's Clone Wars. 50% I absolutely adored. Absolutely adore. I think it's fantastic. And exactly 50% I thought was teetotal garbage. Yep. So that's me. But the thing is, to each their own, I suppose.
Yeah, I gotcha. I appreciate your thoughts on it. I know it's not necessarily an easy question to answer.
It's not an easy question to answer because it's going to anger both sides here, and I'm pissing off people on both sides by saying what I just said, and I understand that. But at the same time, folks, you pick your own battles. But the thing is, though, watch your message. But that's the same exact warning that I give to the expanded universe people: is watch your message, watch how you come across. You know,
yeah, I gotcha.
So that's why I want this billboard to be, you know, not say, listen up to the fans, Lucasfilm, make more legends. No, that's not how we're going to address it. You know, it's going to be in a respectful manner. And I think that's how your conversations should go. We used to do something called, we used to call them Rebel Raids. And you get on Del Rey and you put up, hey, we want some more legends. Hey, give us more. Hey, I said, but guys, when you do that, we're going to be bombarding the comments section. Or when Jennifer Heddle said, hey, Star Wars fans, that was my favorite time. What stories would you like to hear about? And we all got on there and said, legends. She said, okay, yeah, not the legends people, other people, no, sorry. We're the only people following you, baby.
Yeah.
But it was great. So don't ask if you don't want it. But at the same time, there's of course one idiot. There's always one idiot. It's like, you people suck. Your new canon sucks. Everything about you sucks, and you need to do this. Like, that is not the way. They're not going to listen to that comment. They're not going to listen to that comment. So just be respectful in your comments and and how you address certain issues. You have a prerogative to be mad, and the whole thing, like I said, with Ryan Johnson, Chuck Wendig, I totally agree. Those people acted unprofessional, but don't retaliate. Retaliate, then both sides are wrong. It's like what your mom used to tell you. It doesn't matter who started.
I'm finishing it. Yeah.
Yeah. You had that mother too.
Yeah, I think maybe everyone did. But I appreciate your thoughts on it. I know it's not an easy question to answer. I do think that, I think both sides, you know, probably have different goals, but I think there's a lot of overlap. I think that both sides are full of people who love Star Wars. And to me, with the great positive experience I've had reading the expanded universe, I'm really hoping that we get to show that to a lot more people, and kind of open their eyes. And like I've said, and like you've said, if you can get someone into it, they don't often fall out of it. So that's kind of where my head's at.
All right. Yeah, I agree. That's spreading the word, spreading the joy that is the expanded universe. I think that's going to be great. It may solve a lot of these people who were upset about the new stories. Again, a lot of people come to me, I hate this story. What did the expanded universe do? Well, they did this. Really? What book should I read? Oh, try this one. Yeah. It's brought a lot of people into the expanded universe. That Absolutely. You know, that's how you can keep your enjoyment of Star Wars. If the flame is going low and your love of Star Wars, I recommend a book for you. I truly believe, because I would not be as big a Star Wars fan, and neither would you, Ryan, without the expanded universe. Like, I'd still probably go see the movies once in theaters. I may buy it for my collection, but I wouldn't watch it a lot. I wouldn't be as big a fan without these books, without these comic books, without these role-playing games, which I've never even done an RPG, but I bought them anyway because it's expanded universe.
Yes.
I have a problem.
Well, some people think it's a problem, but I think it's a good problem to have. But, you know, Matt, thanks for sitting here and talking to me for so long. I've really enjoyed the conversation. It's been great. Why don't you take a second, kind of plug your channel and anything that you have going on that people should be tuning into you for?
Sure, yeah. If you want to waste your time, come on to my channel called Matt Wilkins. Basically, because I was back in the days of YouTube where animosity was not needed. So it just says Matt Wilkins, and I do board game reviews, which you don't have to watch. Most people don't, but I also love board games too. And I do Star Wars reviews where I go through the Star Wars. I have a playlist for this too. You can catch up. I go through them in chronological order as best I know how, meaning sometimes I get it wrong, and a billion people are going to make the comments if I do. But I do review books, comic books, short stories. I may even, if you're an avid collector, you may discover a new short story you never knew existed, or some kind of story you never knew existed. I have fun with it too. I have a giant stuffed Ewok. That, you know, you may think I'm slightly insane, but I'm having a just crack up great time talking about Star Wars. I do a live Q&A, which is, a lot of people love it, but they can't love it half as much as I do, because it's just like talking to a million best friends. I just love the questions and everything. And yeah, check it out. Check out Twin Sons Foundation. They do a lot of good work. Again, look out for that billboard. I think it's an excellent way to get our message across to Lucasfilm. And I think that's it. Oh, do I even plug this? Where is it? I didn't even bring it. I wrote a book. I wrote a book on the expanded universe. Yeah, I should have come prepared, right? It's
Actually,
from Sequart.
Yeah, I do. Now that you said, I do remember that.
Yeah, I collaborated with people like Timothy Zahn. Ooh. He wrote the foreword. But we all put together and put a group of essays. I believe it's called A More Civilized Age. I've yet to see one royalty check, so either it doesn't sell at all, or Sequart screwing me out of my 25 cents a month.
They got the wrong address. Yeah,
yeah, I'm sure they did. I don't really care. But yeah, the Sequart books, actually the one before that on the comic books, was really good. I kind of regret passing up the opportunity to write on that one. But it gives you some behind the scenes stuff, some stuff you didn't know. There was some stories that unfortunately didn't get put in there, some essays that didn't get put in there because of last minute changes. But still, a lot of cool stuff. I guess that's it. Oh, you can check out theexpandeduniverse.com. It's a website I run with a friend of mine. We'll post whatever news we can up there. I do little Matt chat videos where I talk about something within the expanded universe or the fandom, like we've talked about here. You give me a lot of Matt chat ideas.
Awesome, great
episodes. But yeah, so check me out there. If you like, you can subscribe. If you don't like, you can do a thumbs down. It doesn't bother me at all. I'm not one of those people who say smash that like button, hit that subscribe, hit that notification bell.
Oh, see, I say that.
You can say that. You say that. That's fine. You can say that. You can say that. You don't have to buy my merch. I don't have merch.
Got it. Well, hey, buddy, thanks for talking to me. I appreciate the quick response and your willingness to come on my channel and talk to me about it. I've had a great time. So thank you so much. And if you've made it this long, an hour, 45 minutes, whatever it is, God bless you. Thank you for watching. Any last words?
That's it. Thank you, Ryan. Thanks for having me.
No problem, Matt. Thank you. Have a good one, guys. We'll talk to you later.